Welcome to this episode of the Smart Leaders Sell podcast. My name is Jess. I am your sales coach and leadership expert, and I'm coming back to you after some holiday time. As you can tell, feeling super relaxed, full of homemade mojitos, cocktails, food. I'm probably a couple of kilos over what I was before summer, but hey, it doesn't matter because my head is chilled and I am feeling incredible and very excited to start the next round of cash creation. So if you are a cash creator, give me a whoop whoop because we're about to get started. It's literally like a week until we go and I'm very, very, very excited. If you're not a cash creator, give me a whoop whoop because maybe you have been on holiday, maybe you've enjoyed some time out over the last couple of weeks and are celebrating being back in the saddle, ready to rock your Q4 sales strategy. And that's what I'm here to talk to you about today because let's face it, holiday time. Generally, we don't do that much. People always ask me about this. They're like, oh yeah, what do you do when you're on holiday? And I'm like, you kind of think, well, if I actually told you, you'd probably be a bit like, oh, that's so boring. But, this holiday, we did a staycation. So we stayed at home because we had lots and lots of family plans going on. So we had some weddings, not mine, get some proposals, not mine. Hey, Sam, if you ever listen to this, check a hint, boy, ring on the finger, do not linger. You can tell also of my summer holidays, I spent way too much time looking at crazy Jewish mum on Instagram. She is amazing. And I just think she's absolutely hilarious. So if you need a good giggle today, make sure you go over and check that out. I just realized how much of a promo that sounded. And I was like, they're not even paying me for this. I just really like the account. So over the holiday, we did stay at home and it gave me the opportunity to really catch up on some bits and bobs that I'd meant to do. So the next few episodes, you will see holiday vibes sprinkled in because, there are lots of lessons I learned over this holiday, including the biggest mistake I have ever made when it comes to purchasing a television. It took us 5 hours, not even kidding. And that will be a whole nother episode on the best way to sell products and the worst way to sell products. And also some interesting lessons that I kind of picked up from the activities that we were doing. So over the summer holidays, I say summer holidays like it was my summer holidays and I'm about 12, but over the summer holidays, we've been going to the zoo and talking to my adopted giraffe, Isabella. So Isabella is my giraffe from Marwell Zoo. My name is up on a sign outside the building. I'm very excited by this. My mum got it for me for my birthday last year and I've loved it. And I've just gone to the zoo as an annual member pretty much every 3 weeks. So I'm like the person at the zoo who can tell anyone what any animal is doing at any given time. So I'm like, oh, that tiger is roaring. Yeah, no, he's not actually roaring because he wants to eat your child. He's roaring because it's too hot or because he actually wants to have a fight with the other tiger or because he's hungry. I've got it down to an art. I'm basically a zookeeper. Not going to put it on my CV because it would be a lie, but that's what I've been up to. So we've done the zoo. We've spent some time with family. I've even managed to meet up with my gorgeous CEO, Liz, for a morning. I was down at my in-laws and we've managed to meet up for brunch, which was fabulous. But I did one very, very important thing this summer. And it's obviously not what you think. I rewatched some childhood films. And me and Sam kind of sat there one night thinking about or comparing really our childhoods. And we didn't have a television until I was sort of 12. So actually my childhood was pretty limited. And Sam's going on about all these films I'd never seen that apparently are key staples for childhood, like Fantasia. Also, Fantasia, just as a side note, looks like it was written by somebody who was under the influence of many, 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 many mushrooms. But neither here nor there. One of the films that we both agreed that every child should see was Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. Now, obviously, we're talking about the original, the 1971 Gene Wilder version, because I get that Johnny Depp is attractive, but I don't want to drool over Willy Wonka. I want to be transported into the land of magic and mystery and chocolate and all of the good things. And so for me and for Sam, apparently, the 1971 magical version of Charlie Bucket, making his way to victory, and I won't spoil the ending, but eating a lot of chocolate and having a blast is just a magical experience. And so we spent a good couple of hours watching this film, singing the soundtrack, finding it on Spotify, doing all the stuff that you're supposed to do. And we were sat there watching it and watching the bit about the golden tickets. So for those of you who don't know the story of Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, it's about this relatively impoverished young boy, Charlie Bucket, who lives in London. And, there is a chocolate factory that is world renowned called the Wonka Chocolate Factory. And they release one year 5 golden tickets for kids to basically, they buy chocolate bars and the golden tickets are contained inside the chocolate bars. And they can then go to the chocolate factory and have this amazing day. Now, as we're sat there watching this, I'm sat there eating my bar of chocolate, my green and blacks, and Sam is sat there and he says, "You know what, Jess, isn't that a pretty good sales strategy?" I kid you not. That boy is going to be a salesman by the time that we're 60. But he says, "Isn't that a good sales strategy?" And with my mouth full of chocolate, I'm like, "What? Selling a bunch of chocolate bars for golden tickets? Yeah, it's pretty good urgency, that." And as soon as I realised what I'd said in the most unattractive way possible, mouthful of chocolate, I wrote it down on my phone. I was like, I'm going to have to record a podcast episode about that. And Sam was just like, And anyway, we went on with our night and it was all very wonderful. But Charlie and the Chocolate Factory has some insanely good sales strategies in it and some insanely good just business strategies. So I want to cover off some of those today because, outside of making you go and watch the film, and I wholeheartedly recommend this. I feel like if you're listening to this episode and you get excited about the sales strategy in it, you should just go and watch the film because it's magical, like magical. But also look at it from the perspective of what can I apply here? Because some of the kind of strategies that we see and some of the incidences that we see are so relevant in today's society and in what we are trying to achieve as entrepreneurs. So without further ado, let's take a look at, how really Charlie and the Chocolate Factory taught me or reiterated some really important sales messages for me. So the first thing that we have to talk about is strategy. Okay, now this idea of 5 golden tickets, Willy Wonka, I realize I'm talking about him like he's a real person, but let's go with that. Willy Wonka was producing, let's say, 100,000 chocolate bars a year. Now, we're going with round numbers here because that just makes my life a little bit easier. I have no doubt that if Willy Wonka was as big as Cadbury's, he'd be selling like millions and millions and millions, probably a week. But let's just make it easy and go with 100,000 for now. So if Willy Wonka is selling 100,000 chocolate bars a year, just normally because people like chocolate, he's got them in the right stores, etc. When they find out that there are only 5 golden tickets, his production and sales would have shot through the roof. Why is that? Well, urgency. He gave people a reason of urgency to buy. And this is something that we don't always see in the online world, and certainly we don't always see it in the best way. People tend to use a lot of false scarcity now. There are only 5 spots in my calendar to book in for this free call, which turns out to be a sneaky sales call and da-da-da-da-da. But the reality was, Willy Wonka was using urgency is one of his key sales strategies, and it was real. There were only 5 tickets. In fact, as you watch the film, spoiler alert, there is a kind of moment in the film where they say, okay, all 5 tickets are gone, and little Charlie Bucket's face is heartbroken and he's like crying on his little pallet bed and it's awful. But it turns out that the guy just fraudulently made a ticket. The ticket wasn't real, so he hadn't won, and then suddenly there was this other golden ticket up for grabs, and it was just amazing. So urgency and honest urgency really is key when it comes to selling. And you've got to be thinking about what are the realities of implementing urgency or scarcity in my sales strategy. 1, is it real? Am I really only giving out 5 spots or 5 tickets? Is this price only available until a certain date? With my recent Cashcation launch, we had an awful lot of people who messaged me after the early bird price had gone and said, "Oh, well, I still want to buy the early bird price. So if you can give me that, then I'll jump in." And I was like, yeah, no, that's not how it works. Because boundaries, you have to train your audience into, these are my principles and I'm not going to back down from them. If you miss the early bird price, then that sucks. But what it teaches you is that next time when I offer an early bird price until a certain date, that after that date, that's when it's going to go. And that is just what's going to happen. Those are the natural consequences. So think about the strategies that you are using for urgency and whether they're real or not, or whether they are flexible. I personally dislike flexible urgency. You know, if you're somebody who's like, oh yeah, well, they were only 10 minutes after the early bird deadline, so they may as well have it early bird. I find that really difficult because I find it unfair on the people who got their backsides into gear and made it happen before the deadline, right? So it's not fair on them. So think about whether those urgents or those reasons of urgency are actually urgent, whether they're honest. The second thing is think about the implications of that urgency. So let's look at the Wonka strategy, right? He gave out 5 golden tickets. Now, on knowing that there were only 5 golden tickets, very, very wealthy parents went out there to do anything that they possibly could for their charming little children, read really, really bratty in some cases, to grab one of these golden tickets. Now, that's fine. No issue with that. But let's look at some of the strategies they used here. One guy who owned some kind of packing factory, he got all of his workers to just unwrap Wonka bars all day long. Literally all day. And they'd done it for like 3 or 4 days. So he was paying their wages. Then he was paying out for 70,000 Wonka bars. I can't remember what the actual number was that he paid for, but I think they'd actually unwrapped like 17,000 or something. It was a ridiculous number. You know, so they'd done that. And then he was giving a shilling to the woman who found the golden ticket in the wrapper. That's actually quite a lot of money. And more importantly, quite a lot of Wonka bars. Okay, so that affects Wonka or Willy Wonka in 2 ways. One, it pushes his profits up because great, when somebody just buys 17,000 chocolate bars, you get some cash in the bank, and that's brilliant. The other thing that it does is it increases the need for supply. So if you're somebody who works with products and you're creating an urgency-based strategy around these are limited, or there is going to be some kind of competition, or there's something you can find in the packaging, be aware that if you've got a big audience, or if you've got an audience that really, really want that thing, and suddenly they buy 17,000, can you cope? Can you cope with that demand? I mean, are you prepared for it? Is it realistic that that may happen to you? Now, I see this quite regularly, and because you might be thinking, Jess, come on, don't be ridiculous. I'm not going to put an offer out there and not be able to fulfill it because thousands and thousands of people buy from me. If I've got a tiny audience, that isn't going to happen. Let's just look at this in the scenario of, business today. Look at Groupon. How many times have you bought a spa day or an experience, or looked at booking a holiday through Groupon or any other discounted space? Udemy, Secret Escapes. I obviously know loads of them because I love this kind of thing. But if you've ever tried doing it, what you'll often find is that there are so many restrictions on these particular offers. So they'll have a limited amount because the company will only be able to fulfill so many. And then when you actually, if you buy a spa day or if you buy a holiday or something, then there are lots and lots of restrictions on things like timings, flights, dates, all of this kind of stuff, because they know that otherwise literally everyone in the world would end up buying a £299 per person holiday to Iceland. Sam and I did that one year and it was great, apart from the 2 a.m. flights. Okay, that's the concession that you make when you're going out and doing that. So just have a think about this. When it comes to urgency, absolutely, urgency is the most needed thing for a sales strategy in terms of helping people make a decision in the time frame that you're looking for. But you've got to make sure that A, it's real, and B, you can fulfill it. So think about sensible urgency. Okay. Now, the other thing that we've got to look at here that Willy Wonka does really well is that he has this USP. Okay, and it's not even really what I'd define as a USP. Willy Wonka is great at making his factory exclusive. Okay, so this is an exclusive offer. It's a one-time thing. It's not something he's doing all the time. He's not getting, kids in every single week to go and look at the factory, because that would be pointless and frankly probably quite dangerous given how some of the stuff turned out. But he is very secretive. Okay, one of the lines that they use in the film and in the book is, no one goes in, no one comes out. Okay. And So nobody knows what's happening in the factory. So when he's like, I'm going to open the doors to 5 people, it becomes even more desirable because nobody else gets to do it. They don't have any suppliers going in through the gates. They don't open the gates. Nobody comes out. Nobody leaves. They don't have, recalcitrant employees going out onto Glassdoor or LinkedIn and moaning about their experience, right? It's very, very exclusive. And exclusivity is also a great sales strategy. If you're somebody who is selling something that you think, actually, I really do only want 5 people, then how are you making it feel exclusive? How are you making them feel like they're getting an experience they wouldn't get from anywhere else in the world, from anyone else? How is that happening in your business? So for me, for example, I don't really work one-to-one that often anymore. I take 2 clients per quarter if I want to, if I'm not massively busy with other things myself. And so actually, the exclusivity from that perspective comes from there will only ever be 2 people every quarter that I work with. End of. Finito. The other side of exclusivity in my business, for example, is around experience. How do you make experiences exclusive? Well, it might be that you host VIP days. So one of the things that I've done of late is hold group intensive days. And we've done them with an exclusive experience. So they're held at the Langham in London. It's a 5-star hotel. Lunch is included. Cocktails are included. It's a really lovely day in a really nice environment. So there's a boardroom that we use. There's a suite that we use, and it's fantastic. The food is phenomenal. It comes from Rue at the Landau. And so when people walk in, it's exclusive because they're in a different environment that is naturally itself very exclusive, but also it's an experience that we are not giving to every single person. These are only for people who signed up for these private intensive days or for these group intensive days. And that makes them feel very different. Okay, it puts them in a new environment. So how are you making your services exclusive? Sometimes this can tie into urgency. So sometimes you can have like limited edition prints or something that are exclusive. Or you can, for example, like the cash creation launch we had recently, you can have a wait list who get access like 24 hours early or get a special bonus or who get an extra thing or who get extra money off or whatever that might be. Those can be areas of exclusivity too. It's not just, can you go to a posh hotel? Can you make it different? It's about, okay, how are we giving people an exclusive experience? How are we making people feel like this is an exclusive opportunity for them or a product that best fits them? Okay. And then the final thing that they do really, really well in Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, and I really admire this because I think it's a very underrated skill in the sales world, is competitor mapping. Okay. So admittedly, in Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, what happens is this kind of creepy guy, Slugworth, comes up to every single child who's just won a golden ticket. Like he happens to just be there at the immediate second that they unwrap the chocolate bar and discover the ticket. And he kind of whispers in their ear and he's like, hey, look, if you can go into Willy Wonka's factory and bring me out just one everlasting gobstopper so that I can steal the recipe and monopolize the market for the next, 20 years, that'd be great. And, I'm assuming he offers to pay them or, give them a lifetime supply. But while I'm not suggesting you should do that because that is really, really not ethical and like I mentioned, very, very creepy, competitor mapping is a good idea. Now, I know that we can sometimes get stuck in our heads around, oh my goodness, they're charging this. How could I charge that? Oh God, they're offering that. Maybe I should offer it. But when we actually do true competitor mapping, it's not looking at your competitors and then beating yourself up about, oh, I should do this or they do that so much better. It's actually about identifying opportunities and areas in the market that they aren't covering. So looking at what they're spending all their time doing and then looking at, right, okay, well, they're doing that all of the time. What could I do? What's an area that they don't focus on that I could take and increase my market share with? Or it's about looking at what they do and understanding why they're doing it well. Are they using a different audience? Does their copy speak to people differently? How regularly are they sending out emails? Do they have a super engaged tribe? Are they talking to them consistently? What kind of, advertising are they using? Is it paid advertising? Is it organic? Understanding how they're contacting their audience and understanding how they are selling their products or services is something that's really, really useful, because actually what that means is we're not using it to beat ourselves up. We're also not using that information. I want to be very, very clear here. We're not using that information to copy them at all or infringe on any of their intellectual property or copyrights or anything like that. We're looking at it to understand market share, to understand why people are buying from them, to understand why people enjoy buying from them and what they feel like they are purchasing and what they are still needing or left in need of after they've finished working with that person or purchasing from them. Okay, so competitor mapping is really important when it comes to sales, because, and I've had this question a lot recently, is that, Jess, I don't have any competitors. Yay, I've got a completely blue ocean idea. And I always think, oh gosh, if you have an idea that nobody else in the world is doing, that's actually a very risky place to be, because it's not tested. You can't ever see examples of it working. You can't see its growth timelines. You can't see what kind of customer base it has. That can be really, really challenging, just as, if not more so challenging than if you have a main competitor who's doing really, really well. For example, I could look in my business area and think, oh, I don't know, Frank Kern, he is a sales guru. Crap. Oh my goodness. Frank Kern's got all the clients. I'm never going to get any clients. I'm just going to shut my business down tomorrow. I don't think my bank manager would be too pleased about that, but it could, I could look at it from that perspective. That would be a really extreme perspective to look at it from, but people can feel like that. Or I can choose to look at it and think, this is really interesting. Frank Kern has been doing this for 30 years and he's managed to go from teaching sales offline to teaching them to a bigger audience online. That means he's not going into offices every week and doing corporate training. In fact, he's sat at home, he's launching online education products and he's launching books and things like that. That must mean that there are a ton of people out there who want to learn about sales. And equally, that must mean there are a ton of people out there who, as awesome as Frank Kern is, don't actually want to learn his stuff, or it doesn't resonate with them, or they might not understand or be at the right level to start with Frank Kern information. Great, there's a niche for me. And that's exactly what I did when I started up my business. So I looked at who were my competitors. I looked out there at who were the sales coaches, who were the people that, were doing incredibly well when it came to sales, who were the people that people followed, books that people were reading around sales. And I looked at the demographics and I understood, okay, typically men buy from this person, typically women buy from that person. Great, all these people are out there teaching strategy, but nobody's teaching why people buy. Okay, I'm going to take that little part of the market. I'm going to have the sales psychology part and I'm going to teach everything on that basis. Competitor mapping is not about you beating yourself up. It's not about being self-critical. It really is about understanding your market and how you can get more market share or how you can improve. Okay, so that is what I learned from Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, or Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. I just, I think Willy Wonka is the star of the show, if I'm honest. But just as a quick recap, if you are looking for sales strategies for Q4, please remember to include urgency. Is it honest? Is it real? Can you fulfill it? Make sure that you are somebody who is mapping out your competitors correctly and that you are doing the work that you need to do to ensure that your sales strategy and therefore launch is a huge success. I hope you're having an epic Monday. I will see you in Friday's episode. I've got something super, super special coming to you this week. It's a little bit of a new one, so I am very, very much looking forward to hearing what you think about it. If you've enjoyed today's episode, please make sure that you hit the download button or the subscribe button on iTunes so that you don't ever miss another one. I'll see you on Friday's episode.